Mr. Matt Borne, formerly Doink The Clown. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. Now, what brings you here on the eve of New Year's Eve with Fazoo Crew Wrestling?
Well, we have a monthly show. We do fundraisers, and we're doing a fundraiser for the Erickson PTO, which is a great school here in Freehold. And we're just here trying to be involved with the community and give the people here a great show.
And what separates Fazoo Crew from a lot of other indie wrestling shows right now? One thing that really stood out to me was you were really educating the fans, telling them how all these wrestlers are putting their lives on the line, their bodies on the line every time they step in the ring. Is that something you feel like a lot of other wrestling promotions should do?
Well, I think anybody that's really loves the wrestling business, is involved in the wrestling business, I think they all do that. But I try to instill in guys nowadays to take it to the next level, you know, and to do that, you got to have a love for it, and you got to have a desire to take it to the next level, and by doing that, you're putting your body on the line. And I got this sole philosophy: think, shoot, but work, you know, and it sounds simple, but it's really not. But once you do grasp it, you know, everything else kind of falls into place.
And I noticed that a lot of your performers that kept it nice and simple, they told a nice story in the ring. Do you feel like wrestling these days, especially with the storylines, has become a little too complicated and they haven't gone back to the basics?
I think it can kind of hinder them in learning how to listen to the crowd, knowing what the crowd needs, and thinking, shoot, but work, and being able to just go out there and wrestle without choreographing things, and just putting their bodies on the line and just going out there like in a real situation. What would you do if you were in a fight? And do that, but learn how to freaking work so you're not actually hurting each other bad.
Yeah. So is it tough for you, because I know you still compete in indies here and there, is it tough for you sometimes to work with a guy that may not be a veteran like you, that's used to calling a match step by step? Back?
Well, no, I mean, when I come across situations like that, I just take control, you know, and it's just something that just comes natural. But it can be frustrating for guys that are learning. They get in that position, in that situation, that they get frustrated and they just don't know what to do, and then the whole thing turns to shit, you know. But you just got to take control. You got to be confident. You got to be smooth. You got to just think, shoot, but work.
If there's one thing you'd change about the wrestling business right now, obviously WWE is the major player. They've been doing pretty well, although their buy rate's kind of gone down compared to MMA and boxing. What's one thing you think they could do differently right now that would benefit the business as a whole, since they are the standard bearer?
I think they need to integrate a little bit. Integrate some of that shoot into their work. And what I mean by that, I don't mean go out there and turn it into a shoot, but have a compromise there. Meet them halfway. A lot of MMA, a lot of MMA style, I think, should be integrated into the professional wrestling. I think it needs to. They need to pick up the tempo. They need to get out there and get more wrestling in there.
You think it needs to be more unpredictable as opposed to just the same?
Exactly. Like. And I got all the respect for Ric Flair in the world. Ric Flair, I can watch his matches, and I can tell you what he's going to do for the next 4 moves. He's always been like that. And again, I respect him. He's a great athlete. He was a great athlete. And he's got a great mind for Ric Flair. And he's achieved a hell of a lot more than I ever did. But younger guys coming up in the business, I would say don't watch Ric Flair and try to emulate Ric Flair, because Ric Flair was great back in the 70s. Ric Flair is not what you want to follow nowadays. You want to follow guys like Kurt Angle. You want to follow guys like Terry Funk was a great guy to emulate.
So guys that can also reinvent themselves, because those guys have stuck around for a while, especially Terry Funk coming back in ECW and all that.
Terry Funk was a guy that you could never predict what he was going to do. You could never call, he's going to do this and this and this and this. You could never watch his match and know what he's going to do 30 seconds down the line. Ric Flair, you can. Terry Funk, in my eyes, was probably one of the best workers ever in the wrestling business, outside of Bruiser Brody. Those guys were guys that could go out there and make you believe, because it made their opponents believe. Terry Funk and Bruiser Brody are the guys that would make it nowadays if they were in this era. And guys, coming up in the wrestling business, should watch tapes of Terry Funk, watch tapes of Bruiser Brody, and learn from that.
And biggest thing, you competed all over the world, especially for WWE, formerly WWF. What's the biggest thing you took out of that whole experience, being a full-time wrestler? What's the one thing you learned?
I learned about people. I learned about people. I can read people like a book. And I love people. I'm a people person.
Absolutely. So all I gotta ask is, after this show, what's next for the Zoo Crew, and what's next for you, Matt Borne, as a trainer and as a wrestler?
Well, you know, the wrestling business can be disenchanting sometimes, and it can be uplifting sometimes. I just take it a day at a time. Guys that really want it and want to learn, I'm all for them. I get excited for them. I'm there to teach them everything I know if they want to absorb it. But those guys are few and far between. Guys that really want it, I teach them.
Well, Matt Borne, always a pleasure.
Hey,
thank you so much.
Thank you very much.